Greetings from Zurich, Switzerland. I have said it before, but if you think inflation is bad in the United States, all you need to do is come to Europe. But wait, there's more. If you think inflation is bad in Europe, all you need to do is come to Switzerland because everything here is so massively overpriced, you would just be shocked. It is incredibly expensive. It feels like 2028 under a Biden administration. This is what will happen in the US if we have 4 more years of Joe Biden. It's just shocking how expensive it is. You pay so much more and you get so much less. That's pretty much the European way. It's definitely Switzerland, very expensive, beautiful country, wonderful place, but wow, you're going to pay for it. That's for sure. Now, I am not unaware of the news. Yesterday, I woke up in Davos, Switzerland. Yes, the famous home of the WEF, the WEF, the World Economic Forum, where Klaus Schwab and all the rest conspire to limit our rights and take away our freedoms and take away our money, and you'll own nothing, but you'll be happy, right? And listen, I haven't gone too terribly far into the WEF conspiracy theories, but, amazingly, a lot of these conspiracy theories, it's really hard to find one of them. I mean, name a modern conspiracy theory that that was widely propagated that didn't come true. Yeah, I know. I'm waiting. Comment below. If you're watching on YouTube, please comment below on widely spread conspiracy theories that we didn't eventually find out to be true to one degree or another. And yesterday, I woke up in Davos, Switzerland, and a friend of mine sent me a message, said, turn on the news. And of course, I turned on the news and I saw what all of us saw, the attempted Trump assassination. Absolutely scary, terrible situation our country is in right now. And we're going to talk about that today. So I'll get into that in just a moment here. But since this is a real estate and financial show, I got to talk about a couple of those things first, and then we'll go into the Trump assassination attempt. So hold your horses. The composition of the mortgage market is changing. And, I have long talked about how so many people have these ultra cheap fixed rate mortgages that they're just not going to give up. They're just not selling their homes. And, that has all come true, just like I said it would way back in the early stages of the COVID era. And nobody was talking about that. And I knew that this would be the backstop to prop up the housing market. And I was right. The crash bros were wrong. And they're still wrong. And they're going to still be wrong for a while. But I will say that as we have more and more sales, and sales volume is down very low, but as we have more and more sales, they are peeling off this low rate mortgage environment where we are seeing less and less of that. So how does it look now? Let's take a look at some analysis here. Among US homeowners who have a mortgage, 96% of them have a fixed rate mortgage. So that's good. That's bodes well for market stability and no crash. Measures aimed at curbing risky lending practices, around 80% of US subprime mortgages were issued prior to the 2008 bubble burst, were adjustable rate mortgages, and they have contributed to this shift in more stable mortgage products. Okay, so we have a very stable mortgage environment. Here's how it looks now. It has changed, and it's not quite as good as it used to be, but it's pretty darn good. So 76% of US mortgage borrowers have an interest rate under 5%, according to FHFA. And let's peel the layers of that onion back. About 22% have a mortgage at or below 3%, 3 to 3.99%. That's 35.4% of the market. Another 18.7% have a mortgage between 4 and 4.99%. And just a measly 9.6% of the market still has a relatively decent rate of 5 to 5.99. And then 14% of the market has a mortgage at or above 6% for 30 years fixed. Now, even those people have lower than the prevailing rate if they're in the sixes, right? So it's pretty interesting. And this bodes well for the stability of the housing market for quite a while to come. So we'll keep tracking it and we'll keep telling you more about what's going on. Of course, yesterday I went paragliding in Davos, and it was just absolutely incredible. If you're watching on video, you're seeing a couple of pictures I took with a selfie stick while paragliding. Super fun, just super incredible. The one thing I'll say, I started out talking about how absolutely expensive Switzerland is and Europe in general. As I've said before, I remember I was in Peru and I talked to you on a show then, and I said, look, the thing you got to do for sure, just get it out of the way, check it off the to-do list. Everybody has to climb a few mountains in life, right? And I got a few more to climb myself for sure. But one of the mountains that many people stress about and many people have yet to climb, or at least yet to summit the mountain, is the money mountain. Take care of it. Just check it off the list, so it stops being the thing that runs your life, right? And, money always runs all of our lives to some extent. Even if you're a multi-billionaire, money, 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 it makes the world go round. But check it off the list so you can do what you want, so you have some freedom, you have security. And that's what I'm here to help you do. But we're not really going to do too much of that today, because we've got to talk about the absolutely horrific events of yesterday. And that is what brought us this most iconic picture, probably of the decade, if not the century. And that is after Trump got shot. His ear was shot. He was bleeding. There's so much to talk about here, of course, and there's no way I can do it justice and no way I can cover it. But all the big tech companies and the media are putting their disgusting criminal spin on things, and they are starting to censor. And I want to get the news out there for you before they can censor it all. So this is by no means what I'm going to talk about meant to be complete, but it's a start. And in case we have more and more controls like we saw in the past during the COVID era, before COVID, around J6, you know what I'm talking about, around the erection, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. I want to get this out there and I want you to hear this stuff so you can dig deeper into the topic. Thank God Trump is okay. It's just so many things point to this being an inside job. Now, whenever we talk about, conspiracy theories, everybody goes nuts and they say, oh gosh, put on your tinfoil hat. Look, folks, I want to remind you that the United States of America was a conspiracy against the British Crown. A conspiracy is nothing more than two or more people planning something. Okay, that's it. That's all a conspiracy is. It's not some wacko thing. So get over it if you think it is. It's not a wacko thing. There are conspiracies all around us, every day, everywhere. It's part of life. You are conspiring about something right now. I guarantee it. You are conspiring with another person about something, about how to get someone to do something or think something or whatever it is, right? You conspire against your spouse, you conspire against your kids, they conspire against you. This is life, okay? This happens all over the place. It's really just no big deal, but it is definitely part of life. So I want to show you some stuff and talk about how we have these different levels of conspiracies, right? One, you look at 9/11, right? And 9/11 was, there's no way that happened the way they painted it did. Do we know how it happened? No, we don't. We don't know exactly what happened, but it's pretty easy to tell that the mainstream narrative is not the exact story. So you look at Pearl Harbor, you look at all of these things, you look at the JFK assassination, right? All of these things have many, many layers to the onion. And the layers go like this. Most people think, well, did the government do it? Or did the elites or did the powers that be do it? Right? Are they the ones who did it? But you don't have to do it. You can just be complicit in it, right? You can just ignore threats and then something happens, right? And you can just let it happen. You can be passively conspiring or actively conspiring. There are many levels and layers to all of this stuff. I am now in Liechtenstein. Did I say that right? This is an incredibly small country. It is such a small country. I mean, how small is it? It's so small, the population is likely, very likely, smaller than your suburb. I didn't even say your city. I said your suburb. The population of this entire country, it's so small. But it's really interesting wandering around the streets here. Of course, I was in Zurich this morning, and I'm giving you part two from Liechtenstein. And walking around the streets, you see what a financial capital this is. There's a little KPMG office. Yeah, you know, the big accounting firm KPMG, right here in Liechtenstein. There are high-end jewelry stores, high-end cars roaming around the city. So there's some money here in this little tiny place. Very, very interesting. All right, let's get back to the Trump assassination attempt. Thank God he's okay. And wow, this is just extraordinary news. And it looks like, I mean, you would just have to be completely in the sand to not think there are so many serious, serious problems with this whole entire story. It really is starting to feel like this is an inside job. There are just way, way too many very, very serious questions. And let's go ahead and dig into it. The first thing I want to do actually is show you this. Trump got an endorsement from Elon Musk, Bill Ackman, and now has 71% odds of winning the election. But there's still some time to go. We're going to see the Republican convention. Then we're going to see the Dems and what they do. Are they going to, even if they substitute in, I mean, who could they bring in? You know, Superman, Superwoman. There's nobody available for the Democrats to do that. So if this one doesn't work out for the Donald, then you really have to question election integrity. I mean, we did that last time, and of course we were deplatformed. So that's why I want to get into some of this stuff before all the censorship really gets good or bad. Actually, it's disgusting what these big tech companies and the media do to censor things. But let's go ahead and dig into this. The first thing I want to do is review this Nick Fuentes video. I thought he did a pretty good job very shortly after the event, outlining so many parts of it. So let's go ahead and just dig into that for a few minutes here.
So the question becomes, what led to this failure of the Secret Service? Was it negligence? Was it an accident? Was it incompetence, which represents one discrete category of possibilities, or was it a deliberate stand down? Did they allow the gunman to climb to the rooftop? Did they allow him to set up his shot? Did they allow him to take the shot before they killed him? And right now it's an open-ended question whether the Secret Service is completely incompetent or whether they stood down and allowed it to happen. But I think looking at the map, looking at the aerial photograph of the event, it's very hard to believe that it was simply incompetence. Because like I said, it's a wide open field, very few structures. And as Alex Jones said on a Twitter space that I spoke on earlier, just about an hour ago, Secret Service controls the air. They come from the top down because when you have the aerial supremacy, of course, that is the vantage point. That is where you get line of sight. That is where you get the bird's eye view of the entire event. If Secret Service is locking down the stage, they're looking for that line of sight. They're looking for the peak. They're looking for the nearby structures. They should be there rather than a gunman. And if they're not there, they should have it locked down and they should be looking at it. And there's another troubling video which has emerged, which shows the police, which again are stationed on another rooftop, who appear to be pointed and aimed in the direction of the shooter. They acquire the target at the very last moment and then take the shot after the gunman has fired 5 shots at the president. And the video's on Twitter. Another video shows that attendees of the rally alerted police to the presence of the gunman. Of course, it's a big rally. There are a lot of people there. People are observant. People saw the gunman on the roof. People alerted police. There was a scramble, allegedly by law enforcement. These are eyewitness accounts. These are people who were interviewed moments after the shooting. They said, we saw a gunman on the roof. We alerted law enforcement. They did nothing. So you have the setup as it stands where it seems clear that the rooftop that the gunman had access to would be a point of interest. Either it would be locked down, it would be controlled by Secret Service, or they'd be looking at it. Second of all, the police had a line of sight. They were aimed directly at the rooftop. And it seemed that they noticed the gunman either moments before or just as the shots rang out, pointed in exactly the same direction.
This was a pretty good analysis for, it just came out right after the tragic event. He's pretty quick with this. I've got to give him credit. This analysis started to kind of materialize in other sources later, but this video was very fast. It was really quick.
There were reports made by the rally goers to law enforcement. They saw the gunman. So all of this information, although it's very early, would lead us to believe that this would have to be an extraordinary failure. It would be an extraordinary case of incompetence if that's all that this was, that Secret Service dropped the ball. That would have to be pretty extraordinary. And one would have to ask themselves, if the Secret Service is so incompetent, and they do this all the time, they do this for Biden rallies, they do this for Biden public events, they did this for the NATO summit this week in DC. If they do it for the Trump rallies as the nominee of a major party and former president, if they have done this for former and current presidents for years, why were they not able to do it today?
So interesting questions for sure. So by now, of course, many of you know about some of these stories, but I just want to bring these to the fore before the memory hole is created by the media and big tech companies. This report, you saw this guy on the news, you probably saw him, right? Secret Service agents were standing on rooftop near where shooter was, reportedly stationed. How did they possibly miss this? And then this eyewitness, who you probably saw on TV, claims he saw the Trump shooter crawling on the roof with a rifle and warned the Secret Service and the police. They did nothing. Secret Service blew his shooter's head off after he shot Trump. Okay. And then Kim.com, remember Kim.com? Okay. So Elon Musk actually retweeted this. After the unsuccessful assassination attempt against Donald Trump, he will be president. He has a mandate to end the CIA, end the deep state, end the fake news, end the endless wars, end the corruption, and reform America. It's now or never. And, you know, you're going to have a lot of enemies if you say you're going to end this stuff. And with Trump's recent endorsement of the cryptocurrency world, especially Bitcoin, that's like JFK in 1962 or 1963 saying, I want to end the Fed. I mean, these are incredibly powerful forces who would lose tons of money and control. So a lot of enemies there. And remember Trump's UN speech years ago and his Davos event? I was, of course, just in Davos. That's when the tide turned and the deep state and really so much of the world, the entrenched elite class that is robbing us of our freedom, our liberty, and our money for sure, really, really turned on him. And they made him public enemy number one. Now, not public enemy. The public largely loves him, but the elites and the powers that be do not love him at all. So remember when the Dems tried to end his Secret Service detail? You know, every president gets it until they die, right? They get it for life. They get Secret Service. So Benny Thompson, top Dem on Pelosi's January 6th committee, called to strip Trump of Secret Service protection. I mean, this is right before this happens. And then look at the incompetency. Here's a funny meme and comic that came out right afterwards. Why didn't they have Secret Service on the roof? Oh, there's no reason to have the CIA and the Secret Service on the same roof. In other words, the CIA is in on it, right? Andrew Tate. I mean, there's another figure they're trying to take down, love him or hate him. I mean, you know, he's interesting and outspoken for sure. But remember what I told you. you get 3 lives. First, they cancel you. They certainly did that to Trump. Then they try and put you in jail. They certainly did that to Trump. If they both fail, they kill you. They tried to do that to Trump. Rally attendees saw a man on roof before Trump was shot. Some sources say the gunman was about 130 yards away from the stage. Unbelievable. So they're already pointing their rifles at the shooter, and they didn't see him getting into position, but they eliminated him seconds after he fired. How is that possible? It's not. Either this is just incompetence that would boggle the mind. It would be impossible to be this incompetent. Really, it would be impossible for them to screw this up so badly. It just makes you think it had to be an inside job, or at least complicits. Okay, Representative Thomas Massey, he's got some good points, right? The same bureau that investigated the Las Vegas shooting, which, by the way, I was there. I was an eyewitness to the Las Vegas shooting. I filmed it. I put that video on Twitter. I was interviewed by a couple of different TV stations over the next few days, Inside Edition, Fox as well. I mean, you've got to be kidding that we all are supposed to believe this man with zero motive did all that in Las Vegas and killed, 56 people? I mean, it's just awful. Witnessing that, I mean, you just never recover from something like that. You really don't. When I left the foundation room at the hotel where the shooter was, right? I left the foundation room, took the elevator down, and in that lobby of that, giant casino hotel, I saw police just running through that lobby. And I remember looking at one of them in particular. He was carrying an automatic weapon. I don't know, maybe an AR-15 or something like that. And, not something a cop, he was just a normal cop, usually has. And he was running across the lobby with that assault rifle. And the look on his face, I'll just never forget it. He was scared. I mean, I could tell he was very scared. It's just unbelievable. This is also the same bureau that raided Mar-a-Lago. I'm sure they'll get to the bottom of this. That's what Thomas Massey said. And this one, maybe you haven't heard this one yet. The assassin, this is him. Here he is in the picture. He was in a BlackRock company commercial. I mean, these connections are so absurd, right? I mean, BlackRock owns the world, right? They own all these different companies. And one of them, this commercial, which I watched yesterday, this guy, there he is, he's in the commercial. How do you explain all this, all these connections? Look at the reaction of some of the people on the left. Look at this scumbag, right? He's the owner of this company, Explorer Charters, Cruise Lines, right? Damn, bad shot. Would have done the world a service. And then he comments on his own comment and says, we should watch his ficking brains. I mean, he can't even write. Brains blown away, referring to Trump, of course. Just unbelievable. I mean, the sick people in the news media with their fake well wishes and all of this stuff, it's just unbelievable. And like I said, they've made him a martyr, and they've probably swept him right into the White House. This guy who just survives everything. He just keeps on going. It's unbelievable at his age. If I was him, I doubt they're going to do another assassination attempt. But poisoning, heart attack, who knows? Maybe just a natural one. I mean, he's got to take care of his health, because there's just too many people depending on this person. He's the only one out there really standing up against the deep state. So just had to report on all of that stuff. I know it's not our usual show, folks. I get it, but this is an extraordinary event. These are extraordinary times. Let's just pray for the country and the world, because even if you are not a supporter, you don't want this kind of political turmoil. I mean, when Kennedy was assassinated, that just puts a country and the world into upheaval. It makes everybody feel very insecure about law and order and fair and reasonable government. And I think we all pretty much know after that last presidential election and J6 that the powers that be are definitely messing around with the system. Hopefully you watch the 2000 Mules movie. And how do you explain some of this stuff? And even after the big, what is it, Diebold, the voting machine court case, now, even though that didn't go well in court, obviously, remember Fox News paid out this huge sum of money and they fired Tucker Carlson and so forth. But now new things are being revealed. Just like the whole shot in the arm, all kinds of new things are being revealed about that. All of these one-time conspiracy theories, it's hard to name one that isn't coming true. All right, I'll leave it at that for today. And Wednesday, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming. Please comment below. Let me know what you think. We love to hear from you always. If you haven't done so already, please write a review for the show on the podcast, comment below on YouTube or whatever video platform. These are questions, right? None of us really know the answers to anything, but let's get the questions out there before they clamp down on speech again, and before as George Orwell described it, the memory hole of history, just the facts just go into a memory hole, or at least the questions go into the memory hole. It's just really important that we spread this around. So please share this video, share this episode with people just so they'll start asking questions.